It really was.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. My name is Chrissy with ISS Guggenheimer, and we are joining you from Boulder, Colorado today. We would love if everyone told us where they're joining from in the chat. So pop into the chat box, say hello to our guests, Alan and Wade. We're going to introduce them in just a second, but we want to say hello to you too. So let us know where you're from. And today we are going to be learning all about Koji, but we want to tell you a little bit more about the Lead, Grow, Deepen series. The Lead, Grow, Deepen series is our series where we lead with inclusion, we grow diverse representation, and we deepen our industry connections within ISS Guggenheimer. And if there's somebody that you would love to see, either internal or external, who is a subject matter expert, please reach out and let us know. And if you would like to join some of ISS's communities, ISS Guggenheimer's communities, we have employee resource groups for you. So you can scan that QR code on the screen there and then join any of these resource groups and find your community within ISS Guggenheimer. Okay, so today we are joined by Alan and Wade. Please tell us who you are. Alan, I'm going to start with you first.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Alan. My friends call me the fun guy. I'm originally from Florida, living in Nashville, Tennessee, where I've been a chef for about 10 years and in the mushroom cultivation and fermentation and product creation and R&D space, probably about the last 7 years. We run a company called Fungus Ranch, which is the source for all good things mushroom functional products. And we're really excited to be here and talk to you guys about Koji today. This is my buddy Wade Fox. He's also a Koji expert, kind of my mentor in many ways, and has pioneered a lot of brilliant techniques that are just like some cutting edge stuff in the Koji space. Tell him a little more, bro.
My name's Wade Fox. I've been playing with Koji for about 20 years, and outside of kitchens, so I can be like down every rabbit hole I need to be. I have no control and just like pure creativity. And so I'm able to work in a way that most chefs can't, in terms of just like being fluid with within one medium. Yeah, as a specialty farmer for a while, and then chef for a while, and now I'm like in the Koji cult. So
The Koji cult, I love that. That's so funny. Well, thank you so much for being here. I personally, as I was mentioning earlier, I don't really know anything about Koji, so I'm really excited to learn from the both of you. First of all, what is Koji?
Okay, so Koji, if you haven't heard of it before, is from a scientific perspective, it's a domesticated filamentous variety of aspergillus oryzae mold. That's particularly what it is. So when you hear mold, you go, no, but no, it's actually fantastic. It is the root of the gastronomic culture of the entire nation of Japan. It's what is responsible for sake, soy sauce, miso, mirin, you name it. It's fed to cattle for Kobe beef, and they feed straight up sake to Wagyu beef, correct, Wade?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
like Hokkaido milk is fed sake leaves integrated into their feed, so that's why it's like super buttery.
So it's a mold that has been harnessed for thousands of years, going back to ancient Japanese culture, that now in the modern kitchen is an endless possibility of things. But essentially, yeah, it's a mold that produces enzymes as it grows on this rice. We harness those enzymes to do fermentation magic.
Amazing. Okay, so you talked a little bit about how koji is used in traditional Japanese cuisine and cooking. You talked a little bit about how it's used kind of in modern culinary cuisine. And now, what are you going to make for us today?
We're going to cook up a flank steak, and which has been marinated in shio koji overnight. It's meant to kind of tenderize and add new flavors to the steak. Tell them a little more, Wade, while I get this going.
So the way that I do it's a little bit different. I use koji rice flour, and the benefit of that is you get more surface area of the enzymes, so that it coats the medium fully, and that results in massive acceleration. For example, like if you added this to your sourdough starter, it reduces your rise times by half. Like it's like big. Or with the steak itself, with already protein, 12 hours in the fridge equals, it's very similar to a 30-day dry age. Again, massive time save. But yeah, this one in particular, the last year I've been doing dry age truffle trials. I kind of happened on that by accident. And this is 9 different truffles, dry age truffle as a powder in the shio koji medium. So this is like the full spectrum of an entire yearly season of truffles around the world. So
we got a terminology thing here for you guys. Shio koji. Koji starts off life as rice like this. This was actually made by our friend Nick Prieto of Red Flower Fungi in Miami. This is a jasmine rice koji grown with aspergillus oryzae. It just looks just like rice, but it has been colonized by the fungus to not only, and then dried. So we take this, we powder it, and that is what goes into our shio koji. Shio koji in Japanese just means salt koji. So essentially what we have marinated this steak in is just salt and koji.
This is incredible. Real quick, I just want to say that if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them into our chat box and we'll answer them a little bit later on. But for now, I'm going to hop up. I'm going to let you all do your thing and tell us all about koji and the steak that you're making.
Thanks, Chef.
Right.
So one of the other benefits of using shio koji with proteins is that even if you have people that like it well done, it's still juicy on the inside, so you can feel good about cooking it fully. I really don't like making.
I don't prefer that, but some people do.
That's fine. But and now their steak is pre-postbiotic. The quality of the steak, you can taste more of that terroir in the meat just because of the like pre-digested breakdown. But yeah, it's like once you do this, it's going to be your standard, and you can't go back.
Yeah.
So you're going to ruin yourself in like the best way possible.
So from a functional perspective, what we're doing here with these enzymes is not only unlocking nutrient density, it's tenderizing, but also koji, the enzymes, which are various types of digestive enzymes similar to what is in your gut. You have amylase, protease, chitinase, lipase, all these different enzymes that break down different kinds of proteins. For the case of our steak here, this is a cut of flank steak that we got just at Walmart. It is a regular old cut of meat, nothing really special or anything. Chef, could you hand me a spoon, please? So yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so we basically have just taken this, hauled it in the fridge overnight. You can kind of see what it looks like here on the camera if you like. It's got a little bit of a bias. Yeah, you can see on the bias that it's like penetrated a little bit into the inside of the meat. That's the just the enzymes in the marinade getting into it. Again, this is just koji rice and water and a little bit of salt, correct, Chef? Yeah, so we did this overnight, and it's not something that you really want to overdo because you can over tenderize, but it's a super short period of time situation. So what we're going to start this searing. I got my pan really hot. I'm going to go and put a little bit of this shio koji on here to get a little extra crust going here. Could you hand me one more clean spoon, chef, so I'm not cross-contaminating our shio koji? Thank you.
And a lot of people, they'll scrape the koji off, but I prefer to keep it on because it kind of gives it like a really great, massive umami crust around the surface area of the meat. And it also helps like to kind of like seal in the juiciness.
Right. Yeah. So what we're talking about here as well, we're talking a lot about tenderizing, koji, and all this shit. So from a functional perspective, how do we actually make this? It's very simple. It's essentially just what? Koji, water, salt, and you blend it. And we're holding this one. We held this one in the fridge for about 24 hours before it was ready to be used. Yes. Tell me a little more about the method on this.
So like a base ratio for this would be like 600 milliliters water, 300 grams koji flour, and depending on like how quickly you're going to use it, anywhere from 30 to 50 grams of salt. And I use less salt so that it like I'm not hindering the enzymes. And so because I want it to be as enzymatically powerful as possible. But I typically do like, depending on where you're at in the world and like what temperature room temp is, I typically go for 12 hours room temp and then 24 hours in the fridge, and then it's ready to go. Whereas if you did this traditionally, it would be 7 days at room temp, and then blending it, and then another 3 to 5 days until it's mature. And like personally, I think the traditional method smells like an onion in an old shoe. Whereas this like has a lot cleaner flavor, and you're able, like, if you add other things to it, like 9 different truffles, you get more of that clean flavor specific to that additional ingredient. But yeah, like both ways work, but this is just more functional for. This is kind of what makes sense to me in the kitchen in which I cook in.
Yeah. So the thing that's great about koji that you got to be wary of, and most people get caught up in these like long-term ferments. You have like soy sauce, which can take years. Miso that can take years, sometimes even just months. But again, a lot of these applications that we are dealing with here, our goal is to make it simple and approachable, food safe, and set up for like easy integration. This is all stuff that you can make in your fridge or in an environment that the health department would call cooking. So we're not doing anything super crazy or different here. All of this is a very food safe product in the end of the day. And it's basically, from a functional perspective, these enzymes are unlocking umami, which is basically that elusive taste that everybody's chasing after, right? How do you get umami? It's basically amino acids. Amino acids are your body's way of telling you this is good for me. It's got a lot of nutrients. I should eat more of it. So your body, when it tastes these yummy umami things, is being told by your brain, hey, stick with this, eat more of this. This is good stuff. We want this in our body. So we're taking complex nutrients that are locked up in cell walls and making them more bioavailable. We also did this tech on the mushrooms here. We're going to go and put a little bit of this dried truffle butter in here to start basting this steak.
And so the dry-aged truffle, I happened on it by accident, and you know, like all great things. And basically, what it's doing, like I'm putting truffles in rice koji, and what it's doing is, like the steak, it's ripping the moisture out of it while maintaining the stability of the inside. So it's like our buddy Will taught me that it's creating a pellicle around it, specific to the truffle itself, so that like it's pulling the liquid out, so it's not rotting on the inside. And the ultimate goal for this is I need to get one of those like katsuobushi shavers, but like to get it to the point where it melts into the food that you add it to. Like that's the ultimate goal. Not quite there yet, but you know.
I'm going to use all the time.
But in terms of the preservation standpoint, truffles denature really quickly. And if, for example, this is a a parador from last season, and it has massive weight to it. It looks like obsidian glass when you shave it. You're able to get the aroma or the flavor of the truffle and not just the aroma. And not many people know what truffles actually taste like.
And after we're done here with our steak and we let it rest, we're going to utilize all this fond, which is going to be charred meat proteins, as well as a little bit of this brown butter and a little bit of that rice starch that's going to be in there, and it's going to act as a bit of a thickener.
Yeah, you're making the Koji roux basically.
Yeah.
It's a free roux.
And what we're going to start doing after we do this, I'm going to cook some mushrooms in here. So while this guy sits here and gets cooking all night, we're going to tell you a little bit about a really interesting tech that we developed. We've been out on tour with our friend William Padilla Brown. If you haven't heard of William Padilla Brown, he basically is responsible for cordyceps cultivation in the United States. Cordyceps mushroom is a medicinal mushroom that goes back thousands and thousands of years in Eastern culture. Our friend translated ancient Chinese texts, when I say ancient, a couple hundred years old, but to English, and made it accessible to all these farmers now who are in this booming industry. He helped us to understand a broader perspective of what's going on here. We took these mushrooms, we've been out on tour with him promoting, things that we're all doing together. We created this mushroom preservation technique called mushrooms ready to eat. So the joke that Wade told me, like, oh, we should make MREs. And your boy here decided to go ahead and do it. These are chanterelles from Kentucky. We took Koji and applied them to the preservation and nutrient density improvement factor on these mushrooms by simply taking these mushrooms, cleaning them, putting them in a vacuum bag, and then 1% salt, 1% Koji flour, which is, again, just pure rice Koji, just like this, ground up in a Vitamix or a coffee grinder. You put that into the bag, and then you cook it at 140 degrees, either in your combi oven on full steam or on your sous vide, you name it. That is kind of the way to go about it. And then you're left with these mushrooms that are literally all ready to eat. They're cooked, they're pasteurized in your bag. They will hang out for a much longer period of time than they would if they were fresh. And again, truthfully, it's just a brilliant technique that takes mushrooms at their peak flavor and nutrient density and captures it so that your product not only has a longer shelf life, it's also got maximum nutrient density and flavor.
Plus, like with chanterelles specifically, they have a lot more sugar in them than other mushrooms. They typically break out a lot faster, and so this is a way to maximize your expenditure, mitigate waste. I mean, it's just you have to give a reason not to do it.
Yeah, and it's super accessible too. When you're trying to look for sourcing on Koji and stuff like this, there's a great company. Where are they at? Vermont?
Yeah, it's called Rhapsody Natural Foods, and you can get great natto, miso. From a chef standpoint, you can get 15 pounds of rice Koji for $135 with shipping, and it's all organic grains. I've been using them for 10 years, and the just consistent everything, and I buy rice Koji, so I remove the liability of making it in my space. So it allows me to do so much more, and it's I don't even see it as a cost at that point because
And it's also all grass safe for the USDA. So when you're dealing with your purchasing and your procurement at any level in any sort of food environment, the fact that you are going to have a food safe ingredient that can be added into any program that you're working with just increases your ability to mitigate food waste, but also unlock your maximum nutrient density. So I've gone and put these chanterelles here in the pan. We're going to get all that fond from the steak off the bottom. There's a little bit of that truffle butter still in here. We're going to move this around a little bit, get kind of a little bit of a sauce going. I know in Mexican cuisine, they call the fond tatemada. You take the onions and the tomatoes and the serranos and chilies and garlic, and you literally burn them. And then you blend them into salsa and sauce, and it creates just another way to create umami in a non-traditional fashion, which is very, very fun. So we're going here with a little bit of that. We're gonna let that kind of reduce and get going here.
It's an offshoot of my art.
Yes, it is. That's true. It is. It's a less controlled, wilder version of my art, I guess, right, Chef?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's something to know about my art, and like this is everyone typically uses one standard temperature, and I was wondering where that came from. And it turns out that like that's the average of the highs and the lows of kind of like the center of a compost pile. It stays the same temp no matter like what the fluctuation of the temperature. So like if you program your combi or whatever to you do a cycling in temperature through like a 6 day period, you get more like my art from the inside out and not just the outside in. So it's gonna like most of your stuff can happen within that 6 day time period and not like bag for 3 months. Like so yeah, like this is just how my mind works. So like I'm not trying to change things. I'm just looking for efficiency, for maximum nutrient density, maximum bioavailability of nutrients. And I learned how to like attain those things through maximum safety, because like I'd rather work at on that side of things instead of like having my Harry Potter room of requirement that like I don't want the inspectors to find. Like that's like scares me. Like I don't that makes me nervous. So I'd rather work on that far side of just like as compliant as possible. And there's like a lot more like wiggle room and like fun space to play in on that side of things.
Yes. Keeping things above board is very important for us, because you can have the pirate kitchens and that's fun and all. But at the end of the day, it's like when you're talking about scalable systems, we have to work with the oversight that we're dealt with. And we've tried a lot of times and spent a lot of time just making sure we're kind of setting ourselves up for success in keeping things safe and accessible across the board. I'm gonna keep cooking this stuff here now. I'm taking a little bit of this sauce. If you want to see this right here. This is a mushroom sauce. If you look at my hat too on the main camera, you can see it says food waste sucks. This is something I developed in partnership again with our buddy William Padilla Brown. His company Microsymbiotics sells this on their website, microsymbiotics.com. This is basically a soy sauce, but we do not use soybeans. It is made with barley and rice koji and all of the sad mushrooms from our farm and our operations at the end of every week, every month. Just throw them in the freezer until they're nice and ruptured cell walls and all that stuff is ready to go. We throw them in a bucket with koji, water, and salt and incubate them at 140 degrees for 4 weeks. And this umami-rich sauce is born. I'm going to put just a little bit in here. It's 8% salt, just like soy sauce. You use it just like anything. I think it's also really cool about this when we're talking about koji unlocking the nutrient density in mushrooms. This sauce has lion's mane mushrooms as well as oyster mushrooms. And this last batch has a little bit of maitake mushrooms in there too, all of which have plenty of wonderfully good for you bioactive compounds. And going through the koji process not only makes this thing delicious and umami rich, but it also makes it a functional medicine product. So you're getting that bioactive benefit of the lion's mane and the maitake and the oyster and any other mushrooms that you put into this. So it's quite interesting and delicious. Got some zucchini here that we're going to put in and get this cooking. What's up, Chef?
I have some questions in the chat box that I'm going to ask you. So first of all, you kind of touched on this, but can you just reiterate a little bit why it's beneficial for us to increase the consumption of koji in our diet?
Well, really, it's just a great ancient tech. You got all these people nowadays trying to find ways to get the most nutrients out of their food, especially if you're a vegetarian or a vegan and you're looking for deeper nutrient content in your food to satisfy your diet. This koji goes in and does that digestion for you, and it makes that stuff way more bioavailable. Wade literally eats this stuff all the time. So tell me more about your approach, bro.
Like I integrate koji into literally everything. So like all my salts are flavor stacked. Like say I got one called salsa. It's like tomato and lime and serrano and like essence of chanterelle salt, and every ingredient has been kojified, dehydrated, and powdered. And like the flavor profile of it's insane. And like I'm not having to look at the back of like a label to see what nutrients I'm getting. I already know that I'm getting the maximum of that medium. And like, even if you're eating something that's ostensibly not good for you, like I do mac and cheese for my kid at Koji and the Velveeta, and I'm sure there's some nutrients in there. And if there are, he's getting that benefit. So it's just, it's a, like our salivary glands and our digestive systems can only do so much. And this is kind of like, mama bird helping us out. But like, I don't have data as for like percentages of that, but like, you'll be able to, like, it's changing the textures. It's like synthesizing. It literally is just pre-digesting everything so that that our systems can then like do what they do, like just
process
Yep.
to a more efficient degree.
Right.
I love that. Okay, one more question. Well,
Then we're gonna eat some.
yeah, we'll have more questions. But another question is that someone is asking, it's stone fruit season here in Colorado. Can we use Koji to flavor or ferment stone fruit?
like all the things. So
Oh,
like,
it's so good.
one thing that I've been making a lot of is freezing pops, because like I'm trying to like reclaim my youth. And so you would take your peaches and slice them however you're comfortable with, and then you'd say a quart container, and then add about a tablespoon of honey or maple or whatever sugar you're into, and then juice of one lemon so that's pH stable, and then a tablespoon of Koji flour, and let it sit for like an hour, and then blend it up. And I usually like strain it so that I remove the pulp. But then you have like this really amazing like it's just fruit juice and honey freezy pop that tastes better than anything that like I remember ever eating as a child. It doesn't have dyes in it. It doesn't have corn syrup. It's just like all the good stuff. And then I take the pulp and I dehydrate it in fruit leather, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Like you can make syrups. You can do like iterate Koji into your cake batter.
You can literally put it into anything.
Like, yeah.
From like a stone fruit perspective, if it were me, like if it were my kitchen, and I got like, I'm like, oh man, this farmer's got like 100 pounds of peaches. I'm gonna go get all those peaches, cut them all in half, take them, put them in a big bowl with like a couple pinches of Koji per pound. You don't need a lot. Wade taught me you don't really need like
5 grams per pound.
Yeah, it's not a lot. Put it in there, let it macerate in your fridge kind of overnight, and then just stick them in bags and you have them, and they're hanging. You can also do that sous vide method just like we did with our mushrooms. Again, pinch of Koji, pinch of salt, sous vide. Same thing with these mushrooms. Pinch of Koji, just suck them up real tight, drop them in your sous vide or your combi oven. You've got like, it's just like canning, but you're not using a can. You've also got the enzymes at that temperature, at the 140 degrees as you're cooking them, are gonna kick into overdrive a little bit and accelerate your enzyme digestion a bit more. So not only are you gonna preserve them, but you're also gonna like unlock its maximum nutrient density and flavor and like take it up to the next level, capturing those things at their height. So it's a super easy additive method. Just Koji, backpack, sous vide, keep it in the fridge, keep it in the freezer. That's another thing I told Chef here. These mushrooms that we cooked, a perfect example of how well these can preserve them. These were a month old. We harvested these out of the Kentucky wilderness a month ago. 2 or 3 days after they came out of the woods, we did our process to them, and they've been frozen and thawed about like 4 different times, just as like while we've been on the road as a way of testing, cool, how well does this work? And they're still absolutely delicious.
They look amazing. Are we ready to try what you've been making? Okay, I'm
We've
super
got this
excited.
Koji steak over here. So obviously, yes, for all you chefs out there, I'm going to cut across the grain, I promise. So we're gonna get in here and we're gonna just give it a nice little slice. I rested this out a little longer than I would normally, but it's gonna be nice and pink all the way through. You're not gonna have that like blue center. It's just gonna be a nice, medium, evenly cooked all the way through. And the taste that we're gonna have here on its own is gonna be something very special, but then we're gonna taste it with a couple other yummy little bits on top of it. So yeah, and if you want to look at the center of the way this guy looks, look at that. Here, get me over on this camera, guys.
Yum. You were talking about the way that like Koji makes you salivate sometimes. I'm already salivating.
Well, here you go, chef.
Just look.
The peach
Don't
question
listen to
is
that.
like the peach question. One of the best great koji is like the things you already know really well. Add koji to that, so you see how it changes the texture and flavor and color, and you know, like just kind of figure out what makes sense to you and your palate. But like the only wrong way to use koji is to not use it at all, like in my opinion. So because it's just such an easy input. Like, it doesn't like you can go the traditional route or choose your own adventure, and like those are the waters that I prefer to be in.
Gonna try this out here because I'm feeling some steak.
This is so good.
Mm.
I mean, one of the best steaks that I've had. I've never had it with koji, and this is incredible. So you were plating it with, tell us.
Plating it up with
entire-
some chanterelle mushroom zucchini. And then we are going to top it off.
I made a chanterelle preserva last night.
Well, Wade's going to go ahead and put some of the chanterelle preserva on top. This is made with what? Kojified vinegar and olive oil, correct, chef? Give me a little swoop of that oil around the plate. All right. The next step we're going to do here is we're going to take some again of our mushroom umami sauce, just as a bit of the final sprinkling on top here. We're going to look again. Go like so. Give it a little bit. This is great too. Again, this sauce is great, just like to dip your steak in. And then the final bit, again, this is another special Kojified ingredient that I made for Microsymbiotics. This is a Koji porcini fermented wild mushroom salt. Will and the crew 2 years ago poured a bunch of porcinis in New Mexico and in the Rockies. And we fermented this with Koji. And then I took all the liquid out of the primary ferment and reduced it down for 3 whole days and then packed salt back into it. So it's this deeply roasty and delicious flavor. And we now are going to eat this. So go ahead and enjoy yourself.
This part.
And then also,
Final part.
but there's more.
But wait.
Yeah. I took the chanterelle infused vinegar and added koji honey and made a koji chanterelle gastrique. Not that it needs any more like anything, but why not?
And then I'm going to put this here so you can see the plate. And then we can go ahead and we can eat it.
I'm gonna sneak right around you, and we're gonna grab some knives.
Of course.
I mean, it's a beautiful dish. Just like the steak that I had before. Really, I'm like still salivating from it. It was so juicy, incredible. Okay, let's. Here you are.
Oh, you first.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see.
No, go for it. You eat first and tell us
You're so
what you
okay.
think.
This is our regular life. Like,
Is that-
you gotta jump in and
Okay, we're gonna do a little bit of everything, maybe. Just swap your faces. Oh,
Everything's so tender
Mhm.
and juicy and full of flavor. And like all the things.
all the things. This is a really well balanced dish. I love this. Again, just like very juicy with every bite. There's a lot of like.
Ooh, the acid from that preservative.
Yes, there's a lot of like acid, like sourness, umami going on, and all of those things involved in the dish are really like making you want more. Like you said, you try an ingredient and then you try it with the koji, and then it kind of changes your mind about like what that ingredient is supposed to taste like.
Yeah, because this is nothing special, guys. This is zucchini from like US Foods. And this is steak from Walmart. Like the chanterelles are special, but you can do it with any mushroom. You know, they're even just like baby bella mushrooms. You're gonna go ahead and you're gonna add koji. You're gonna do this 1% salt, 1% koji sous vide for 2 hours at 140. You're going to make it taste better. You're gonna unlock nutrient density, and it's gonna change the way you kind of approach this. And then the zucchini again, we barely cooked it. We just let the heat and those enzymes get in there, and make it nice and delicious.
And something else about this is like a lot of times proteins don't taste as good the next day. Not the case here. It's like pizza the next day.
Oh, I love that.
It's like, you know, you make like rice and beans and they get a little fermenty in your fridge and they have that like funk. It's going to be like that. It gets better with time.
I love that.
Yes.
Okay, so if you have any last minute questions, please feel free to pop into the chat box. In the meantime, I have a question for the both of you. If our chefs are looking to learn more about Koji, kind of experiment on their own with Koji, what are some resources where they can get started?
We're talking about the books, and you should talk about fermentors. Yeah.
So my Instagram moniker is Fox Among Bears. My last name's Fox, and I ran a farm on Bears Island in South Carolina. But I started this group called Fermentors, and I mean, if I can do a pun, I'm going to do it no matter what. But it's I find a lot of times that people will credit someone one time, and then everyone just kind of assumes it's their tech. Whereas if I'm using something that I've learned from someone, I will tag them every time because it's important that people learn why, how, like the original data. And I'm not the one that needs to like be the talk box for that.
Wade's just a really great conduit.
But so the group is filled with just hyper creatives and kind people that are like, we're all kind of running together. It's a hive mind mentality. We're all just trying to like help each other succeed and, not tell people like, someone says, hey, could this work? We're all just like, do it,
Go for it, see how it is.
And if it doesn't work out, we figure out why. And, some things aren't meant, some things are perfect the way they are and aren't meant to have that.
So you can find Wade Fox Among Bears on Instagram. Just shoot him a DM. He'll add you to the group. I'm in there. Nick is in there. Will's in there. Our whole community is in there. It's a lot of good problem solving people. If you have ideas, you want to do that, that's a great resource. Additionally, there's some really good literature out there. If you want to get into anything fermentation based, anything by Sandor Katz is absolutely fantastic. Definitely great primer for fermentation knowledge.
Dr. Ariel Johnson, she's one of the people that started the Noma Lab. She just released a book called Flavorama. It is like Harold McGee, but like really great like photos and illustrations, and it's one of the best books even though it's like only a couple months old, it's one of my favorite. Like I wish that was available 10 years ago.
Yeah, it would have been great. And then Shockey's got that good book too, right?
Yeah.
Comfy Koji by Kristen Shockey is a great Koji primer. He also mentioned Noma. The Noma Guide to Fermentation is the primer for a lot of my knowledge. It's just really good empirical recipe, method-driven approach to all sorts of fermentation disciplines. The Koji chapter in there, they dig a lot into the history and do a lot of like modern adaptations on like traditional methods. So if you want to get like a good start, that's a good thing. And then if you want to look in kind of to some ways where people in the modern era have done some experimentation and have cataloged that, our friends Rich Shee and Jeremy Umansky, who are Rich is out of Boston, and Jeremy's out of Cleveland, runs a restaurant called Larder in Cleveland, Ohio. It's really great. They did a whole experimentation journey, it's probably 3 or 4 years of just like applying ancient tech to these modern techniques, everything from the ancient stuff, building incubators, doing innovative things, vegetable charcuterie, growing Koji on meat, which I'm a little too scared to even do that. But those are all great. So you got the Noma Guide, you got the Koji Alchemy, you got Comfy Koji, you've got Flavorama, and all those are honestly really great resources. Again, tap into Fermentors via Fox Among Bears on Instagram. I'm Alan the Fun Guy. Also, again, I will answer questions. Send me a DM on Instagram. Find us on fungusranch.com. You can hit the email form there as well. It just comes to us. We're happy to answer questions. We do consulting. We do all sorts of good stuff. So we are happy to be a fountain and hub of information.
We do have one more question from Meg Pell, who is the one who introduced us to each other. So thank you so much, Meg. And again, if any of you have suggestions for future Lead Grow Deepen guests, please let us know. Subject matter experts that you want to see here. But Meg is wondering, what do you think is the best way to start your Koji journey?
Grow Koji.
That or like order some Koji, and again, like the things that you know really well, add it to that so that you see how it changes things. And it's like I am not Japanese, and I didn't grow up eating a lot of Japanese foods, and so it like making miso and like soy sauce. Like I wouldn't know if it was bitter. Like I don't have anything to compare it to. So I started adding it to like I'm a saucier by training, so I added it to all my core sauces and just saw how it ripped through some of them, how it like was slower in others, but just it gave me like I factored into what I already know, and that really helped me learn how to like what the boundaries are, and then how to go forward. But like it's just so much fun because like there's no limits of what.
Yeah, it's just start trying and making experiments. Like growing it on one hand is such a wonderful thing to feel the warm rice because it creates heat after its first 24 hours and it's alive and it's bound this rice together. And then you have this cake that you can like shake and it's springy. That's a wonderful experience. So if you feel inclined and if you can make sourdough, you can grow koji.
Yeah,
that's like a little bit more of the advanced thing. But really, like Wade said, just taking it and adding it to the things you already do. You're going to make ceviche, throw a little bit in there in the ceviche. You're going to make jam, throw a little bit in your jam. And there's countless resources that are, again, it's starting to become more popular. So there's ideas galore out there. But really just, you can buy it on Amazon. They come in little packages. Just search rice koji on Amazon. You can get like 250 grams sent to your house in 2 days. And it's the high quality stuff that comes from Japan. You can get it from our friends Rhapsody as well, on Amazon. So yeah, just get it in your hands, start playing with it. And you'll learn the limits real quick because personally, I did that once. I tried to ferment Twinkies with koji, and it was terrible.
We had this thing where, like, with Umansky, and like we had to use like junk food as the substrate, and
I grew koji on Flamin' Hot Cheetos, and it tasted like cheese in a dirty deep fryer.
Right, and like someone else did those like bright blue Takis, and then made like a wing sauce with it, and Coriander Doritos.
Yeah, so it's literally a bottomless pit.
Yeah,
you can if you can think it, you can try it. Whether it'll be good or not, I can't promise you that, but you won't know until you try.
Real quick, thank you so much for answering these questions and giving us all of this knowledge about koji. I've learned so much. I seriously was starting from zero, and now I'm really excited to kind of play around and learn more. So if you have any questions that didn't get answered, we'll try to reach out and answer them. And please give a big thank you to Alan and Wade for coming here, demonstrating how to use koji, teaching us more about it. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, Megan. I love you.
Bye.
Bye.